Please call now.
T9JSX checking in, and sorry about that, Adam. I forgot time got away on me.
All right, we picked up KD9JSX, Tony. No problem, Tony. Glad to have you checking in tonight. And I saw over on the Wires X side, WA4JCF, Wayne, got you checked in with us as well. Any other stations, please call now.
Kilo Oscar 4, Kilo Delta X-Ray, KO4, KDX. Rob in Fisherville, Kentucky. In and out, no traffic. Thank you.
November 4, X-Ray Romeo Delta, Ralph in Chilhowie. Good evening.
All right, we picked up Kilo Oscar 4, Kilo Delta X-Ray. I believe it's the first time you checked in with us, Rob in Fishersville, Kentucky. I got you checked in and out, but we certainly appreciate you joining us, and thanks for checking in. And then N4XRD, we'll be back to you for some comments later on, Ralph. Any other stations, please call now.
KF4FHY, Kevin, in and out, please, Adam.
All right, we picked up Kevin, KF4FHY in Bristol, Virginia. Thanks for checking in tonight, Kevin. Got you checked in and out. Any other station?
Control, please check in. KD4CCO, Dallas in Bristol.
All right, picked up KD4CCO, Dallas. We'll be back for some comments. Any other station?
Net Control, please check in N8SLS, November 8, Sierra Lima Sierra, Dana in Culloden, West Virginia. Check me in and out. Thank you.
All right, N8SLS, Dana in Culloden, West Virginia. We got you checked in and out. Thanks for joining us tonight. And I'll let time slip away from me there. So I'm actually at 9:30 here to go ahead and start the net, so we'll do just that. Good evening and welcome to the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Digital Fusion Net. This is N4NT, the name's Adam, net control station for this evening's net. At this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance before we begin the net, so we ask that you please stand, remove any headgear, and face the American flag if you have one available. Place your hand over your heart. Veterans may render a salute and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just as a quick reminder to always allow just a few seconds in between transmissions, it's as important to let the transmission ahead of you drop as it is to key up and let your transmission pick up the system. So just keep that in mind. This net meets each Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time in the QSO America Room 43815 or FCS4 Room 54. The Bristol Amateur Radio Club Fusion Room 61243 will serve as a backup should the QSO America room be down at net time. Whenever possible, recordings of this net are uploaded to the Ham Radio's own YouTube channel and or broadcast live, and we are currently doing that tonight. So visit the net website, tcme.club, for net info and links to these and other pages. This net emanates from the Tri-Cities area consisting of counties in northeast Tennessee and the Mountain Empire of southwest Virginia. This net features connections from the Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia 147.000 repeater and the Mears or Mountain Empire Amateur Radio Society 443.000 repeater in White Top Mountain, Virginia, which covers most of the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire region. Thanks to a partnership with the Friends of Amateur Radio Group, allowing us to use QSO America, we now have nodes and repeaters connected in areas such as Harvey, Illinois, and a few others, and more to come. Thank you to those who connect just for the net as well, such as our friends in West Virginia. Check us out on NetLogger, available for free download at netlogger.org to follow the net. You can also access the net from any internet-capable device at K3CLR. That's Kilo 3 Charlie Lima Romeo.com via his on-air net scraper. This is a handy tool to follow the net as we typically pass the net from one station to the other. If you don't have either one of these methods, we ask that you get a pencil and a piece of paper handy and write down the person who is after you when we give out the list here in a few moments. Okay, we currently have 12 stations early checked in, counting net control, but we're going to open up the floor before we begin taking comments and so forth and see are there any other stations that would like to check in. And just as a reminder, if you are not going to make comments, just check in and out, and we'll put you as such. If you simply check in, we'll come back for comments. Any stations, please call now.
Net control, this is Tom, AB8RL in Scott Depot, West Virginia.
All right, we picked up AB8RL, Tom, in Scott Depot, West Virginia. Got you checked in, and we'll be back for some comments. And just as a reminder, too, we do broadcast live on YouTube, and we also are on NetLogger. So any licensed amateur that messages us on either one of those systems will count you as a proxy check-in. We welcome anyone that would like to get on the list that way. So we'll go ahead and take comments from the stations that we have checked in right now, and we'll give out our net topic here in just a moment. So I hold in my hand the envelope. As a child of four could plainly see, it has been hermetically sealed and kept in a mayonnaise jar on Funkin' Wagnall's porch until noon today, but I will, in my semi-mystic and somewhat divine way, ascertain tonight's net topic. All right, so I don't know if he's listening or not, but our good friend Matt, who helps make a lot of this possible, is a key part of the Friends of Amateur Radio Club, N9YBK. He is in the process of moving, so he has inspired tonight's topic. Tonight's topic, we'll go off of the topic of amateur radio tonight, and we'll ask, how many houses can you think of that you've lived in over the years? How many times have you moved, or however you want to phrase that? That'll be the topic, and of course the topic is strictly optional, and you are not limited to that. Anything else that you'd like to comment on, well, you're certainly welcome to do so. And with that, I'll take a reset here, and then I'll give out the list. All right, so tonight's list, I'll start things off here in a moment. I'm in 4NT. The name is Adam. I'll be passing it to Scott, KB8ZIO. And Scott, you'll be passing it to KL1ZA, Jim. Jim, you'll pass it to KD9JSX, Tony. Tony, you'll pass it to Wayne, WA4JCF. Wayne, you'll pass it to Ralph, N4XRD. Ralph, you'll pass it to Dallas, KD4CCO. And Dallas, you'll pass it to our current tail gunner, Tom, AB8RL. So let me pause for a moment and we'll get started. All right, so to answer tonight's topic, how many times or how many houses have you lived in? I guess technically the first house isn't considered a move, so I've moved 6 times from what I can count on the top of my head and lived in seven different houses, and it just doesn't seem like that. I could actually throw in 2 or 3 more if I count. My parents had divorced when I was really young, and my mom lived in Richmond, Virginia, and I spent my summers there, and I always considered that as a place of residence as well, living with her. So, I could probably throw in 7 more at the places where she's moved over the years, sort of upgrading each time. But in fact, some of my fondest memories growing up and favorite places to live were some of the houses that my mom lived in Richmond, Virginia. She was in between houses, her and my stepdad one time, and they bought or rented a townhouse for a little while. Basically what they'd done, they put their house on the market and had bought some land and building a house on some acreage where they could have horses and all that. Well, the house sold quicker than what they anticipated, and they had to find somewhere to go, so they put all their stuff in storage, and they moved into a townhouse. And this was around 91, 92 area, and that's one of my fondest memories, and the reason being was, I was a teenager at that time, and there was a shopping center right across the highway from where they lived, and I could walk over to that shopping center, and there was a Radio Shack in that shopping center. And I'm going to reset. I don't have a timer in front of me, so just to be on the safe side. Okay, so there was a shopping center over there, and there was a Radio Shack. And I went into that Radio Shack, and I bought the No-Code Technician Study Manual. And I had that thing for a while before I got into it real serious and finally went and got my license. But that was the beginning there for me. So as an amateur radio tie-in to houses that I've lived in, that's part of my story of what got me started in amateur radio. The funny little note about that, I was into CBs at the time, and I took a little small CB radio with me and a power supply and a magnetic antenna, which I put out on the porch, and talked to all kinds of people while I was there, and come to find out it was on a place called the Farm, which was a prison. So, interesting little side note there. With that, I will turn it over to my good friend from not only here on Wires X and FCS and YSF and whatever else we're on, but also a good friend of mine from the HF bands on the Ole Miss Net, Scotty, KB8ZIO. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Adam, and hello everyone on the net. This is Kilo Bravo 8, Zulu Indy Oscar. You was talking about houses. I've lived in just 5 different places, and the biggest one was Mom and Dad's, and there I had a CB radio. I had a really nice one. Matter of fact, I wish I still had it. It was really more than just a CB, but it was a Siltronics 1011D. Boy, I wished I had that radio. And that's what I started out in radio, and it was at dear old Mom and Dad's. But after I moved away, I moved into an apartment over top of the hardware store where I worked, but I always had a radio of some kind, but it was actually, there was my commercial radio for the fire department, and had it on with a little magnetic antenna sitting out on the air conditioner unit, and had that. And then I had a trailer here in my backyard. Then I moved to I moved to Beckley, still having a radio, but it was still a commercial radio, and not exactly ham or anything. But it was around 95 when I moved back from Beckley back into the trailer in the backyard. Is when I got my no-code tech, and then I bought my Lenco 610, which I used it earlier tonight on the WV8 AR net. Now I got my double wide here, and now I got my 1011D, and got my Lenco and several hand units. So I've all these different houses and different radios. I don't plan on moving again. Closest move I'm ever going to do, and radios won't be included, will be to number 1 Pearly Gates Drive. That's really all I got. So I'll turn this over to Mr. Jim in Tennessee. Kilo Lima 1 Zulu Alpha. It's yours.
KBHCIO, KLONCA, thank you very much, and have a good time in West Virginia tonight. I'm actually talking on Facebook to my cousin in Huntington. My family is from the Huntington area. So anyway, how many places have I lived in? Believe it or not. This could sound funny. I have moved 9 times, but I've only had 7 houses. One time moving was a mobile home. We moved it between 2 towns about 50 miles apart in Michigan. And the second, another time I had moved from Alaska to a house in Alma, Michigan, which is about the dead center of the Lower Peninsula. And we rented it out to my brother-in-law. And I'm sure many of you all know how well things work out when you rent a house or do anything with a relative. So less than 2 years later, we were back. After 2013, I'm done traveling the Alaska Highway in 2 days to try to get from point A to point B. So we've been down here for almost 8 years. But yeah, so I've moved around a lot. And don't really want to do it again. We might move out of the city, somewhere in the county or the surrounding area. The city's getting a little too crazy for us. So anyway, with that, I will say 7-3 and turn it over to Anthony, KD9JSX. Talked to you earlier, and we'll turn it over to you. 7-3.
KL1ZEA, KD9JSX. And, oh boy, this is a topic I can relate to. I was trying to think here. I'm driving, but I was trying to think. I want to say 8 or 9 different houses I've lived in when I was growing up, when I was younger. And I always had a very mobile lifestyle. I moved out of the house and went on my own. And I've lived. I was born and raised in Chicago. And like I say, 8 or 9 houses that I can think of off the top of my head that I've lived in. And then I moved to New Orleans and Kansas City, Kansas. And then I back to Chicago, and I joined the Navy. And I moved about every 2 years in the Navy. I moved to San Diego. I lived in Honolulu. I lived in Portland, Oregon. So anyway, after I got out of the Navy, came back to Chicago again. I think I've moved, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, 7 more times. So I'm in this house in Kankakee, Illinois right now, and I've been there 2 years. So hopefully I can settle down. KD9JSX. Over to oh heck. Sorry, I'm driving. I didn't write it down. I did punch it in on my phone, but I changed the page because somebody texted me. So I don't know who's after me. I'll send it back to net. KD9JSX.
No problem. We understand being mobile there. So up next is WA4JCF. Wayne, take it away.
Okay, I'll try not to take it too far away, but anyway, let me break for a signal report. Are my packets getting through?
Yes, sir. We hear you just fine.
Okay, I didn't know how long. I hope I had overdone it. I'm watching you make entries on the YouTube channel. But anyway, my dad was a concrete inspector for the Tennessee Valley Authority when they were building the dams on the Tennessee River. And I was born in Sweetwater, Tennessee. And then family was in McBimble, Tennessee, and Maryville, Tennessee, and Fountain City, Tennessee. And I'll probably skip a few of them. And then we were in Bristol, Tennessee, as far as I can tell. He came into the Bristol, Tennessee in the very early 50s and lived on Pennsylvania Avenue, corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and Maple Street. And then from there, when I was in the Air Force, was at Lackland Air Force Base for basic training. And from there, went to Keesler Air Force Base for technical training. And then went to Ottawa Air Force Base, Omaha, Nebraska. And then from there, came back to Bristol. And before I went to the Air Force, my parents moved out to the house I'm in now. It's on Lowry Lane in Bristol, Tennessee. And then from Lowry Lane, I was in the Air Force and came back from Offutt Air Force Base. I was in the Air Force from 64 to 68, and then back to this house here. And then down the road, my parents passed away. I think my mother in 1977, my dad in about late 1985, and then Sperry closed, and I was out of job and was not very good at hunting new jobs, but I worked in Knoxville, so I lived in Knoxville in 1990, and then came back to Bristol, and then from there I went to Richmond, Virginia in 1993, and then to Hartford, Connecticut in 1994, and then late 1994 I came back here and been back here ever since. Okay, break for a reason. It's kind of hard to tell if I've waited long enough, but I'm getting little beeps. I think there's a timer in this radio that goes off, so when I heard that little timer go off, then I stopped for that. But anyway, I've been working for about the last couple of weeks on a Horizon Fitness T101 treadmill. I had to give up my elliptical trainer because my knees were not standing up to the elliptical trainer too well. So then that thing is real heavy. The person who delivered it had all they could do to get it to my back porch, and then they had all I could do to get it in to this room here where I set it up. And then in the process, I broke or damaged a cable, which I had to order. And today was the day that it turned it all on and it actually worked. So so far it's working extremely well. So this is a big day of relief for me here on what I've been my own little hobbies. So with that, I will turn it over to K0 or KO4 KDX. Rob in Kentucky. Go ahead and take it away. This is Wayne, WA4 JCF, Bristol.
Okay, Rob was in and out, so up next was N4 XRD.
In and out, so I'll take it from there. Boy, I tell you, this is a loaded question for me, because I've been a regular vagabond, I guess. I started out, I was born in Rolla, Missouri, or Missouri. That's at the northern edge of the Ozarks. As an infant, I moved to Akron, Ohio, probably when I was 2 or 3 years old. And then I moved to Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, just north of Akron. From there, moved to Hungry Mother State Park and lived in a cabin for a glorious 6 or 8 months. It was a terrific place to live. That was while a house was being built for our family. So then I moved just a few miles into Marion, Virginia, and by the time I spent several more years in Marion, I grew up a little bit and then moved out to Brigham City, Utah to start junior high school. The reason I was moving around so much is my dad was in the defense industry, and he was changing jobs. So it was about the only way to really get a significant promotion. So anyway, I lived out in Brigham City for 6 years and then moved back to Marion in 1969 and actually moved into the same house that we lived in before we moved out to Utah. So that was really bizarre. So there's one that doesn't count. Then after that, I lived in Whithill for a little while. Moved down to Bristol, Virginia, and moved to Bristol, Tennessee. Then out to Eugene, Oregon, and Logan, Utah. Then I got drafted. So all that happened before I was 19. Spent quite a bit of time in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, then went to Fort Polk, Louisiana. Wound up in Camp Hovey, Korea. I don't know if these military places count, but I sure lived there. Came back and stayed at home with my parents for a little while, and then moved to Blacksburg. Lived in Blacksburg about 7 years in 3 different places there. Finally moved back to Marion, but moved in with my mother-in-law for a little short time while we were looking for some property. And then, in 1981, moved onto this property in our house trailer. Lived in that house trailer 6 years on this property, and 4 of those years were spent building this house that I'm sitting in. And I spent the last 34 years in this house. Been tempted to move away one time, but I just couldn't do it. I figure I'm just probably going to wind up staying here forever. Maybe it was all that moving around when I was young, I don't know. But that's enough for me. And for XRD, I'm going to hand it over to 84 CTO, Dallas.
Good evening, everybody on the net. I don't know that I could even come up with a count of the different places I've lived in, different houses I've lived in. It's something else. I tried to keep a count of, and I came up with 6, but I know that's very low compared to what some of the places I've stayed. I was also an Air Force person. I spent 4 years in the Air Force. Started out on Lackland Air Force Base for basic, QSO Air Force Base for technical training. And from there on, the rest of the time I was there, I was living in a suitcase, you might say. I was all over the United States and South Korea during the 4 years I was in. But I was born in Marion, Virginia. Lived there until I was 19 years old. That's when I went in the Air Force. And got out of the Air Force, got my degree in electronics, and eventually went to work for the telephone company in Bristol, Virginia. And actually I drove back and forth between Marion Bristol for the 1 year before I decided to move to Bristol. And I've been in Bristol ever since then. I moved to Bristol in 1974, and I've not moved around a whole lot since I moved here. So I guess that's about all I got to say about that. So I guess I'll turn it over to the next person on the list, and according to my calculations, it's AB8RL. Go ahead. This is KD4CCO.
KD4CCO and the net, AB8RL. Thank you very much. Well, I've only lived in 2 homes since I got married. I'll just start with how I got married. I lived in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, Beaver County, up near the Greater Pittsburgh Airport in the 1980s. I built a home around 1981, 82, and in 1984, I got moved to West Virginia, and then we sold that home and moved into my current home I'm living currently since 1985, so we've been fairly stationary. So, 2 homes. Where I live here, I've managed to have a nice 40-foot crank-up fold-over tower. When I was in Pennsylvania, I had a Radio Shack, probably about a 30-foot push-up pole that was secured to the roof of the home. It had a very lightweight antenna on it. Thinking back, the property I owned wasn't very conducive for a lot of antennas, actually very few antennas back there. So we're happy down here. It's been good to us and been good to my children as well. Good night. I see that we have another tail gunner, and I'll turn it over to David in Rayland, Ohio. KX8 DRA to take it, and then that AB8RL.
Am I still here?
Yeah, we hear you now.
All right. Every time I hit the button, my radio beeped a few times. I don't know what was going on. But anyhow, hello everybody on the net. Let's see. How many times have I moved? Well, went from living in my parents' house for 19 years. I got married. And, of course, that was in northern part of Wheeling, West Virginia, up in Warwood. I got married, and we moved into an apartment in the same little town. We lived there for a few months. And then my wife talked me into moving in with her elderly parents. They were in their 60s. Across the river over here in Ohio. And I've been here for 30 years. It's kind of funny because both of us have mostly worked in Wheeling for the past 30 years, so we should have stayed there. But anyhow, I like it. We're up on a hill. We're out in the country. There's a tower out back, 30 foot tall with a CB antenna on it, and I'm using that as a 10 meter. And pretty good situation for ham radio, but I just got into ham about 4 years ago. So I have really enjoyed this place until now. I guess that's all I have. So catch you next week. Hello, everybody. Have a great one. 73 to you. I guess I'll just send it back to net control. This is KX8DRA.
All right, sounds good. Sounds like we had a good topic there. So I'll just mention real quick, too, before I take some more check-ins, that I've been in this current location since 2017, and I was here for about a year, and then I started rebuilding my ham Radio Shack and so forth, because I've been in townhouses or on small lots and stuff, and I had close to a decade there where I really couldn't do the things that I really enjoy doing in the hobby on HF and so forth, and we were thinking about moving maybe out in the county somewhere. We're right in the middle of the city where we're at right now later on, and if I could pick up my Radio Shack that I have at this location and take it with me as far as the room and everything, I would, because it's really a good layout. It's a good location in the house, and so forth. But anyway, just want to throw that out there. So we're going to see, is there any other stations that would like to check into the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net? This is N4NT. Please call now.
Good evening, Adam. Kilowatt Alpha 8, Yankee Echo Zulu.
All right, we picked up Matt, Kilo Alpha 8 Yankee Echo Zulu from West Virginia, and we also picked up a couple proxy check-ins. I forgot to mention there on my last transmission, and one of them, who is a regular, he joins us through YouTube and listens to us, KY4TG Kilo Yankee 4 Tango Golf, and that is Todd in, let me find it here. He Three Forks, Kentucky is what he says on YouTube. And for those that know me, you know I go by my middle name, which is Adam, and the IRS calls me Christopher, and apparently his son is a Christopher Adam and goes by Adam as well. He put on there, and he said that he has lived in at least 17 different houses over the years and is currently 50. And but I want to say it's been challenging at times, but say 7-3 to everybody. And then I got a message from Chicago Matt, N9YBK, who I'm sure is really busy right at the moment, but I told him about our topic, so I put him down as a proxy check-in, and he said that he has moved 3 times and is currently working on number 4. So just throw those in there. So, Matt, if you just joined us, you probably figured out the topic is how many times have you moved, and, of course, if there's any fond memories of any houses over the years and anything else you'd like to comment on, go ahead.
Okay, well, this is the 3rd house. Was hatched in Pittsburgh, and Dad passed away when I was 4 and a half, and Mom and I moved in with my grandparents and stayed there till she got remarried 6 months before Susie and I got married. And then we bought this house and been here, I don't know, I'm not good at dates, 14 years. Since 2008. Oh, yeah, something like that. 10, 12, 13 years. And still don't have a shack here yet. I'll get there one of these days. The house wasn't finished when we bought it. There's no way we could afford a house this size with the land that's on if it was finished. So maybe by the time I croak or something that'll be finished, but we'll see what happens. Got plenty of room. Got 2.6 acres, so got plenty of room for antennas. Just don't have anything up. And let me buy some time. I don't think we have anything on for Saturday evening, so as far as I know, either me and Lydia or Matt and Audrey, one of us will pick it up unless you want to get the kids net Saturday, but I think it's your Saturday to work, so one of us will try to get it. Kind of late on check-ins last week. I think Matt only had 5 of them, but we'll see what we can do. Hope everybody has a good rest of the week, and
supposed to be nice up here, 40s, low 50s, and not too much precipitation. So hopefully you have nice weather where you're at too. Back to net. K8YZ.
Okay, Matt, thanks for checking in, and thanks for picking up the kids and that. Yeah, you're correct. I do have to work Saturday, but I will try to give you another check-in by mobile there. I wasn't able to this past Saturday. We had some plans and everything, so I was away from radios to even be able to check in. But really appreciate your all support there and picking up on that. It was an idea that I had, but I knew I couldn't, especially with that. The time frame was selected because of the kids and just giving them a off-school night and that kind of thing, but I knew it was a night that I couldn't make it all the time myself, so I went into it knowing I was going to need some help, and you guys have definitely been a blessing in that, and we appreciate you greatly. So, yeah, reminder, Kids Connection Net here on QSO America Saturday at 7 Eastern. We invite everybody to check in, whether you have a kid or are a kid or not. Come by and give them some support, because one of the things we're doing is we're letting the kids be the net controller. So if there's not a lot of, or even if there's not a lot of kids to check in, if it's mostly adults, that gives them the practice and the interaction and everything. So if we can get them a good list going and stuff, and they really enjoy it. Any new kids that come on as a net controller, after you do your first net, we will send you a certificate officially knighting you or deeming you or whatever you want to call it as a net controller. And while I'm thinking about our West Virginia folks, don't forget about the Country Roads Net in the West Virginia link room. They also have a YSF reflector, and so you can join them that way as well. And I'll have to look. I've got that number here somewhere for the YSF and and even the Wires X. Wires X is easy to find. You can search by name West Virginia. Actually, YSF's the same way. You can hit that drop-down list depending on your spot that you're using, and usually find it there. But I'll try to get it here in just a moment. But we'll open the floor again for any additional check-ins. Anyone else like to check in, please call.
November 3, uniform, Papa Yankee, Weird.
G, Gerald in Abingdon, checking in and out.
All right, we picked up a couple there. November 3, uniform, Papa Yankee. And Sean in Weirton, West Virginia. I believe it's your first time checking in with us, so we're glad to have you. We'll be back for some comments. And then N4, G&G, Gerald in Abingdon, Virginia. He's checking in and out, so we appreciate you checking in, Gerald. And the Wires X for West Virginia link is 46488, 46488, and the YSF is 19941. That's 19941 for information there. That YSF I actually used it to check in here within the last couple of weeks. I can't remember exactly, but that came in handy. All right, so we'll go to our next check-in here, N3UPY. Sean, our topic for tonight is how many times have you moved and any fond memories you may have of houses you lived in over the years. And, of course, anything else you'd like to comment on. So go ahead.
Well, before I forget, here in Weirton, for the Country Roads Net, K8LES was doing it somehow, the Country Roads Net somehow through the W8CWO repeater. And he's a silent key now, so I'm pretty sure that's not, I know it's not happening anymore here locally. So we kind of lost that in the area. But yeah, I'm 45, And I just moved here to Weirton like 2 years ago. I lived in Williamsport, Pennsylvania all my life till I moved here. And, you know, just the whole, the fact of living, you know, I grew up just a few blocks from where the Little League World Series Stadium is. You know, we used to spend our summers, well, a week of that week. Now it's 2 weeks. Back when I was a kid, it was only 1 week. You know, we spent a lot of time there over, you know, hanging out with our friends and stuff. And now I'm down here, and I like it down this way.
Okay, sorry about the pause there. It's hard to type and talk at the same time. I was trying to update the information I have here as far as the West Virginia link. They actually have an echo link as well, 439354, and I'm going to put that information on the YouTube comments for anyone that needs to refer to that later. And then, of course, David and I have been having a discussion on the NetLogger, so you can look on there if you're on NetLogger on the AIM window and get that information. All right, so thanks for checking in, Sean, and appreciate the comments. And that brings us to the bottom of the list once again. Is there any additional check-ins? Please call now.
Good evening, Adam and everybody else on the list. This is K7RKL, Bob, in Lake Havasu City, Arizona.
Okay, Bob, K7RKL got you checked in. We'll go ahead and send it your way for some comments if you'd like. The topic was how many times you've moved, and of course anything else you'd like to comment on is certainly welcome. Go ahead, Bob.
You know, Adam, I have no idea how many times I've moved. My father was in the Air Force, I was in the Army. We've been here for about the last 10 years, and this is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. Usually about 4 years, and I was gone. But, only comment I got is I have no idea what's going on. I got my sherry pie, sherry node working just a couple weeks ago, and I put them down the simplex part of the band right there, and I don't know. One seems to be interfering with the other. Anyway, I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to figure it out. Anyway, back to you. N4NT, this is K7RK.
Okay, Bob, thanks for the comments. And yeah, actually I was talking to Scotty instead of that. I've been talking to David earlier there on the the instant messenger, but Scotty said the Echo Link is actually their VHF system, so I guess it's separate from their West Virginia room up there. But any of these the folks here from West Virginia that you're checking into the net and you enjoy talking to, that's another communication system to be able to get a hold of them anytime during the week. I've actually monitored that YSF reflector some and heard some conversations. Sounds like their room and everything's pretty active, so we don't have to limit ourselves to one night a week of talking to each other. We can always meet up in their rooms or over here. They can come over here or whatever and so forth. In fact, and Scotty there, KB8ZIO, he and I have been checking into the Ole Miss net. I've been a member of that for years, and kind of go in and out as far as activity. I got back into it because a fella sent me a spreadsheet that computes it reads your logs and computes all their awards for you. And come to find out, after 21 years of operating and only submitting for about 2 awards, I actually ended up with about 15 or 20 just putting my logs in that thing. But anyway, and Bob mentioned moving with the military and so forth. My family, I didn't personally, but my grandfather was in the Army, and my dad and my uncle, they moved a bunch of times over the years, and I loved hearing those stories. In fact, as they were moving, my dad was born in Tacoma, Washington, during my grandfather's military time. So I heard a few people mention that checked in tonight, and so it's definitely some fond memories of hearing those stories. All right, is there anyone else that'd like to check in with us tonight? Okay, just a quick reminder, local folks, the Mirrors 443.000 FM net tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Be sure and join those if you're local or within reach of the 443.000 repeater on White Top Mountain in Virginia. And also for the any of my Bristol people, Bristol Amateur Radio Club, we'll be having our regular monthly meeting this Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And we'll use the local analog repeater 146.670, or you can meet with us via video. You can find the link in the newsletter as well as the Facebook page for the meeting room. And if you have any difficulty with that or anything, just shoot me an email at my emails get on QRZ, and I'll get you the link and get you set up and everything. Help you any way I can. All right, with that, we had 20 check-ins, counting our proxies. At one time, I saw 10 nodes connected, and we had, let's see, I needed to add one here. Had 6 states represented. So thank you to each one who took time to check into the net tonight. Thank you to the Bristol Amateur Radio Club and the Mirrors Club for the use of the local repeaters, and to the Friends of Amateur Radio Group for the use of QSO America. Also, thank you to our West Virginia group for being a regular, consistent participant in the net and connecting your systems well, and any other connected systems out there. We really appreciate you. This is N4NT closing the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net at 10:19 p.m. Eastern Time, 7/3, and good night.